Thanks, Pauline. All right, well, thank you very much for being here. I've just come to tell you my story in the hope it inspires you in some ways and you don't make the same mistakes I did. In a nutshell, I went to this school, so it's a special privilege for me to be here today. Ended up going to sixth form college up by Pexhill, did A-levels, maths, physics and economics. Went off to Liverpool Uni and did business studies. And when I graduated, England was in a recession, but I went to America, had two aunts living out there, made $1 million in the stock market. The money went to my head. I started throwing rave parties with it, had people bringing ecstasy in, so I was knowingly breaking the law. SWAT team smashed my door down, and I end up in this jail that's got the highest rate of death in America, where not only are the gang members murdering the prisoners, even the guards are murdering the prisoners. Now, it's going to be a very hard-hitting talk. There's going to be some graphic images. If anyone's squeamish, I'll warn you before they come up. There might be a little time at the end for questions and answers. If there's not, my card's gone around the room, and I will respond to any questions that are sent to me by email, Facebook, or Twitter. Now, it's going to start to get gruesome in about 5 minutes. I'm just going to go back to my school years. Here's what I looked like when I was about 13, 14 at this school. And I had a full head of the Wham style hair. That's me on the left. At this age, I chose economics, and only about 6 of us here did economics. And the teacher, Mr. Dillon, really took me under his wing. He had me reading the Financial Times, following the stock market. At 16, I borrowed 50 quid off my nan, doubled it in BT shares. So I was hooked on the stock market at this very young age. I'm telling all my mates back then, I'm going to go to America, make $1 million in the stock market and fly all you guys over. You know, that was my dream. Now, went on to Liverpool Uni, did business studies. But when I graduated, England was in a recession. It was hard to get a job. So I had these two aunts living in Phoenix. They were like, just jump on a plane and come out here, get a job real easy with your English accent. So that's what I did. I didn't have any money. I just went there with my student credit cards. And my first 2 years, because the job was commission only, I was basically living off cheese on toast and bananas, just wondering if I was ever going to make it. But 5 years in, pursuing my dream, working these long hours, I'm the top guy in the office, making over $500,000 a year, got my own staff, secretary, cold callers. I'm only in my 20s and I've got enough money to retire. I put that money into technology shares and they all shot up. And that was how I became a millionaire. But I was also throwing raves. Now this goes back to when I was at uni. The acid house scene had started in Manchester. It was news headlines every weekend. Young people breaking into warehouses, breaking into airplane hangars, wearing all this crazy coloured clothing, dancing to what was a new style of music back then, and taking this drug called ecstasy. So I was seeing this on the news and wondering what it was all about. I had a mate out of Manchester. He says, come and check this club out. I went to the club. I tried ecstasy, tried speed, kept doing drugs and not thinking of the consequences. When I got to Arizona, the rave scene was very small. I started throwing house parties for dozens of people at first. I'm showing off because I've got the most money, buying everybody drugs, thinking I'm Mr. Cool Guy and it's never going to catch up with me. And I'm getting as addicted to the lifestyle and the attention I'm getting from throwing these parties as I am getting addicted to the club drugs. And it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And so at the peak of it, I'm in $1 million house on the side of a mountain in a gated, guarded community. Got my own swimming pool, jacuzzi, got my own rave, clothing, music store. I think I've got it made, but I've been breaking the law for so long and getting away with it. I'm also thinking that I'm above the law and it's never ever going to catch up with me. But it always does, sooner or later. And on May 16, 2002, there was a knock on my door. Tempe Police Department, we have a warrant, open the door. I'm on the computer, I jump up, I look out the peephole and it's blacked out. Run to the bedroom to get my girlfriend, I'm like, what should we do, what should we do? I think we better let him in. We get halfway through the living room, boom, door just flies off its hinges. Hands above your heads, don't move, get on the ground now. So they crush us, handcuff us, I'm yanked up, and I'm charged with talking about illegal drugs on the phone. Over 100 people are arrested with me in SWAT team dawn raids. Half of them are girls. Anyone who spoke about drugs on the phone was arrested because the cops had been recording all of our conversations. All of my money was seized and I never got any of it back. My bail was set at $750,000 cash only, so there was no way I was getting out of this jail. Now here's what the jail cell looks like. About the size of a bus stop shelter, originally designed for one person. See, there's one bunk at the back. Over the years, they put 3 bunks in there, one on top of the other, so it's way overcrowded. The toilet is that stainless steel seatless thing at the front. So when you go on the toilet, you get the guys you're living with on one side, guys in the day room on the other side. It's embarrassing going on the toilet with people walking around you, but it's just something that you've got to get used to. Now, Phoenix is the hottest of the big cities out there, gets up to almost 50 degrees, and it's hot all year round. It's way too hot to be wearing the black and white remand jail outfits. So to try and stay a little bit cooler, everyone's going around their underwear, which are these pink boxers. Even so, we're sweating day after day. And what starts to happen is we get these skin infections and bed sores that itch and bleed, especially on our behinds. The problem is when you go to scratch yourself, when you're sweating constantly like that, the outer layers of your skin start to turn soggy. So you get this itchiness and you scratch yourself and clumps of your own skin detach under your nails. At night you're just tossing and turning in a pool of your own sweat and the itchiness is keeping you awake. Now it's completely gang controlled. Whites, blacks, Mexicans, Mexican Americans are the 4 major gangs. 'Cause I'm white, as soon as I walked in, the Aryan Brotherhood prison gang come up to me and first thing they do is ask you what your charges are. So whatever race you are, a gang is going to come up and do this. There's no way around it. And you can't lie about your charges because it's on a little printout from the jail. Some charges are KOS by the gang, which means kill on sight, such as paedophile stuff. Other charges are SOS, which means smash on sight, such as drive-by shootings, because women and kids sometimes get hit. Anyone who's got a sex offence or a crime against a woman or a child, as soon as they come in the jail, the gang's going to try and murder them, or at the very least smash them. It's called convict justice. Once you get through that interrogation, then you have to go to the meeting and meet the head of the race, who explains all the rules you must follow, or else the whole gang will smash you. If someone calls you a punk, a bitch, or hits you, you must fight them on the spot, or else the whole gang will smash you. You must take showers, or else they'll smash you having bad hygiene. Can't go make you friends with the guards, or else they'll smash you for snitching. Can't go sitting at the tables with the other races, or else they'll smash you for that. Everything you take for granted about your safety in society is reversed in jail. They're constantly looking for people to beat up, because that's how they make their reputations and earn their tattoos. It's called putting work in to earn your political ink. And the more serious the act of violence, higher up in the gang are the tattoos that they earn. Under every head of the race are guys called torpedoes. They'll go in and smash someone, no questions asked, just so they can earn their tattoos, which look like this. The guy on the right, he was getting escorted to medical one day, snatched the guard's gun, shot him dead, and escaped. He didn't get very far though. He was actually picked up at a local McDonald's. Smart criminal. This guy on the left, that's the full Aryan Brotherhood membership tattoo, Warbird. To earn that tattoo, to be a full member of the gang, you have to murder someone in the jail for them. Now, it was half Hispanic where I was at, and here's what their tattoos look like. Does anyone know what the teardrop tattoos mean? Each solid teardrop is one person that he's murdered for his gang. Preferred method to kill you is with a shank. They strip metal from all over the place and you hear them at night sharpening them into knives. All those in the background are homemade knives that have been confiscated by the guards. Now I'm about to show you some graphic images of young people who've been attacked in the jail by gang members. Why on earth would I want to do that? Because you see all these movies and music videos that make the drugs, crime, gangster lifestyles look cool, but they don't show what happens to the young people when they get busted. The old cons are checking them out when they walk through the door as potential to rape, rob, and do a range of bad things to. So I'm showing you the other side of it, so you've got more information to make your own decisions. Before I go there, I'm going to backtrack. This photo at the bottom, it's a PR photo put out by the jail. It portrays the holiday camp atmosphere you hear jails described as in the news. Fresh-faced youngsters going in, hair nicely groomed, stripes all clean. Looks like they're going to have a good old time playing video games and watching TV. You hear this in the news all the time. Please don't fall for it. What's happening in the media right now is they're softening the UK public up for US-style justice. That's what our politicians are introducing to England right now. It's not the reality of what an adult prison is like for a young person. Reality is coming up in these pictures now. And like I mentioned earlier, if you are squeamish, don't look now. I'm going to go through them pretty quickly. He was murdered during a race riot, stabbed in the head, shank across the face. The gang cut him so deep he could stick his tongue out through his cheek. So I'm in this medium security remand jail my first year. You know, my parents aren't rich people, but they remortgaged their house and come up with money for a lawyer. He's like, look, Sean, we can get you out of the jail. We can go court, have a bail hearing, get your bail reduced, and you can fight your case outside the jail. So I'm getting all excited. Yeah, getting out of the jail. My girlfriend's excited. All my local family show up in court. Uncle, ex-police officer, speaks on my behalf and offers to supervise me. Seems to have gone really well, except prosecutor's trying to make her name off the back of my case. She sabotages the hearing. The judge, when he makes his ruling, he doubles my bail to 1.5 million cash only. When your bail goes over $1 million, you're automatically reclassified from medium security to maximum security. I thought these guys were hardcore over here. I was about to get thrown into where it was nearly all murderers. So the night I got moved, it was about 2 in the morning when I walk into the cell. There's some light slanting in from the day room, but it's dark inside. First thing I notice is it's a 2-man cell. I think, oh, that's an improvement, but I'm wondering why my cellmate is asleep on the top bunk, because where I come from, people fight over the bottom bunk. So I'm thinking something's not quite right. So I walk in some more. I start to sense movement on the walls and the ceiling. I think my eyes are playing tricks on me. So I put my face right up to one of the walls to see what's going on. And it's covered in these guys, cockroaches. Got used to the violence by now. Trying to get to sleep with these crawling on me gave me a nervous breakdown. I had to get put on medication to get to sleep. 8 at night is lockdown. 10 is lights out. It's like the cockroaches know just when the lights are about to go out. They start lining up in the cracks in the walls, doing this little movement with the antennae sticking out, like an army waiting to invade. As soon as the lights go out, they just flood the room. Now you've got a choice. You can wrap a sheet around you so you look like the mummy and leave a breathing hole, and it does keep them off you, but it traps the heat to your body. And like I mentioned earlier, you've got these bleeding and itching, skin infections and bed sores. It aggravates that condition so you can't sleep. So you end up just throwing the sheet off you and letting them crawl on you. Now they don't bite. They start out tickling your feet, your limbs, the palms of your hands. They try to get in your ears to eat your earwax. It's like honey to them. Is anyone in here asthmatic? Any brave asthmatics? All right, well, check this story out. I've got a neighbour in maximum security who was asthmatic. He wakes up one morning, out of breath, grabs his inhaler, takes a blast, shoots a cockroach inside himself, says he can feel it moving around. He throws up his stomach contents trying to get rid of it, and somehow it's stuck in there and it won't come out. Even in the daytime, there were so many. The prisoners were doing cockroach races on the tables in the day room, gambling on the winner. And first thing in the morning, you see the fellas come out of their cells with plastic containers. They put peanut butter in to trap them during the night. And they'd empty all the dead ones into the trash can under the stairs. It didn't matter how many we killed. They owned the building. Now, I'm just going to put some of this in the context of the UK prison system, because I don't want you leaving here today thinking this stuff only happens in America. I've got a young person who was writing to me out of a London prison. He was high on ecstasy and weed, and he smashed his vehicle. And his best mate died in an accident, so he ended up doing time for that. And here's what he wrote to me from the London prison about the food. The food in here is just rank. It's no good if you're trying to stay healthy. Stews look like vomit. Curries are bowls of coloured water with disturbing meat. And chips are like rubber. I mean proper rubber. They are not edible. Also, in the UK, it's not racial gangs like it is in America, although it is starting in London with the Blood and Crip gangs. Everything's just following the American style, 5 to 10 years behind. Traditionally in England, it's gangs that are competing to control the drugs because it's big business. And one of the punishments they have in the UK prison system is they boil up sugar, bleach and water, throw it on your face, and the sugar makes it stick to your skin and it scars you for life. Now, there was another threat from the insect world in Arizona that also came out during the night that did bite. Any of you guys don't like spiders? You wouldn't even see it. It's called the brown recluse. It would come out at night looking for food, and you would roll around in your sleep and touch it, and it would bite you. And you would wake up the next day with a little pinprick, and you might not even think too much about that. In the following days, the pus would start to come out, and your skin would slough away, and it would eat into your flesh and cause what's called a volcano lesion. There were guys in the jail who'd been in shootouts, and as you're about to see, unless you're squeamish, these spiders were putting bigger holes in people's bodies than bullets. I'm only going to show it for 5 seconds and I'll count down because it makes people ill if it's up there for too long. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I got moved to medium security. I think these guys will be big softies after Supermax. I was wrong. My first cellmate is this guy on the left. He's a serial home invader, torturer. He was breaking into people's houses, and his preferred method of torture was to take a hammer to their kneecaps. He tells me the night I move in, I've got a padlock in a sock. I can smash your brains in while you're asleep. I can kill you whenever I want. Really nice guy. Now, he was very sneaky. The 2 things you look forward to the most in prison are your visits and your mail. And he knew my mum and dad were flying 5,000 miles to come and see me for Christmas. So we got his mate, this 20-stone California biker on the right, to attack me just as I'm going to this visit with my parents. I have no idea this has been planned. I'm just going to the visit happy as can be. The big guy comes up behind me, starts kidney punching me. All the prisoners stop to see my reaction because the gang rule is you must hit back or else you're considered a punk and everyone preys on you. But if you do hit back and the guards see it, you're arrested and sent to a prison within the prison called lockdown or the hole, and you lose all your privileges, including your visits. So I had to think really quickly because I didn't want to lose the visit with my parents coming all that way. So I spun around, tried throwing some kicks and punches. It was no good. It was like hitting a big bag of cement. And he was a kickboxer. He spun me around, smashed my back up real good, and he ended up going to the visit all injured. My mum's asking me what's wrong with me, and I can't say because my mum's already had a nervous breakdown over the situation. I didn't want to worry her any more than was necessary. When I get back from the visit, the big guy's got a young person dangling by the neck from a 2nd-story balcony. My cellmate, he's getting higher on heroin and crystal meth and acting crazier and crazier towards me. He's keeping me awake all night, interrogating me, and he's even showing me the padlock in the sock that he's going to smash my head in with. It was the only time in the whole of my incarceration that I asked for some outside help. I called my family and said, look, can you put a call into the British Embassy and see if they'll call the prison and get me moved out of this cell, because I think this guy's going to try and kill me. I can't sleep around him or anything. But if the embassy call the prison, they can't say anything that will get him in trouble from what I've said, because if he gets in trouble, then that would make me a snitch and everyone's going to want to kill me. Fortunately, the embassy handled it appropriately and he was moved without me getting into any trouble. He's throwing batteries at me for a couple of weeks afterwards until I got a cellmate who was bigger than him, who had some words, and it all stopped after that. Now, because my blog was getting in the news, some of the more extreme characters were asking me to put their stories on the internet. T-Bone, 6.5-foot former Marine, trained to kill, seen action in South America. Have any of you guys seen that movie, The Green Mile? The prisoners call him John Coffey after that character in that movie. That's how big he is. Yeah, when T-Bone came to my cell window door to introduce himself, he completely blocked the sunlight out. I was just writing at my little stool. I turn around, there he is. He's just got his pants on, covered in scars, massive scars. Looks like someone has cut him up and sewn him back together again. Every single scar was a different life and death prison fight story. He was the ultimate prison gladiator. But not only was he standing up for himself, he was stopping the raping of the young people. He said that was the foulest thing anyone could do to anyone. And he wasn't just going in and knocking the rapists out. It wasn't that easy. He was getting stabbed, hit in the head with river rocks in stocks. All life and death stuff, and he's got the scars to prove it. And he was doing this for no reward whatsoever, just making enemies left and right. No one would have even known about it if I hadn't come along. So obviously the guy's got a big heart. From telling his story across the UK, it was students in Liverpool suggested we start a page for him on Facebook called the T-Bone Appreciation Society. There's about 5,000 students on it now. He doesn't have internet access. I print out his Facebook wall and mail it to him in America. And he said the highlight of his day is reading all these questions and these comments from these UK students. And when he gets out, he's hoping to look into getting his passport and coming out and doing talks to schools as well. So if you're on Facebook and you've got a minute to give him a like or put some on his wall, it's all appreciated. Now, I've not come here today to whine about getting caught selling ecstasy and ending up in this environment. I take full responsibility. My actions choosing to break all these drug laws lead into this. When I first started doing drugs, I was a little bit older than you guys. I'd seen the celebrity addicts, I'd seen the movies, I'd seen the music videos. I thought it was the funnest, coolest thing in the world. That's how it starts out, and that's why so many people get sucked in. But over time, you've got to do more drugs to keep the high going, or you step up to harder drugs, and it ends in a possible range of bad things. Drugs started as fun for my head bouncer, Cody Bates. He lost his mind in his late 20s. His parents sent him to rehab, and he hung himself. I married one of the most glamorous women in the raves out there. Drugs started out as fun for her too. She lost her mind. She wanted to die in Egypt. She wanted to get bitten by a snake and die like Cleopatra. She got a one-way ticket to Egypt. She couldn't get a snake, so in a hotel room, she made a weapon out of a Mark III razor, took a bunch of prescription pills, and slashed her wrists. Drugs started as fun for another one of my bouncers, Big Micah. He never got busted with us, and he continued. And his girlfriend sent me an email saying Big Micah's in hospital. He needs a new heart because of his drug taking, else he's going to die. And he's only in his 30s, so you never know what's going to come at you next. There's a reason you don't see many old drug users out there. They're either dead or they're in prison. And what happened to Whitney Houston last year is a perfect example. Now, I served just under 6 years, and I'm banned for life from America. My first year back in England, I'm in Widnes, on the dole, living with my mum and dad. I can't get a job because it comes up I've got a criminal record for ecstasy dealing, and my story's all over the internet. You know, if you get busted smoking pot, drunk driving, you get a criminal record and it pops right up at the job interview process. And it's hard enough to get a job as it is in this economic environment. You've also got to think about the effects of choosing the drugs lifestyle on your loved ones. You know, I wasn't thinking about my mum and dad, getting my party friends high. They're 5,000 miles away, they'll never find out. Well, 2 months after my arrest, I'm the cover story of this newspaper out of Phoenix, English Sean's Evil Empire. It's 10 pages long. Everything I did and 10 times more are in this article. They portray me to be a cross between Tony Soprano and a vampire. So I called my aunt in Phoenix after reading it. I said, don't let my mum and dad see this, you know. They're just gentle, loving people. It's going to break their hearts. She said, Sean, it's too late. There's an internet version. Now, my mum read it and she had a nervous breakdown. She was a college teacher at the time, and she went into the college after reading it. And there was a group of foreign students, and she ran up to them saying, they all know, you know, they've read the article. They didn't have a clue what she was on about. My dad had to go to college and pick her up, and she's been on enough medication to this day. You know, I live near London now, so to come and do this talk, you know, I stayed at my parents' house for the last couple of nights. I can still see the hurt and pain on their faces that I've caused them over the years. People say to me all the time, Sean, you live this wild and crazy life. Is there anything about it you would change? And automatically what I want to change is, I want to take that hurt and pain off their faces, but I can't, and it makes me sick to my stomach. And it's something that I've got to live with for the rest of my life. My party friends owed me hundreds of thousands of dollars. I barely saw a penny of that back. My parents remortgaged their house, cashed in their retirement accounts, and I've come up with almost $100,000 to get me out of that situation. You know, I still owe them most of that money, and I'm just slowly paying it back. So you really got to think about the effects on your family. Now, an important thing I learned about myself is from the prison psychotherapist, Dr. O. I've got this risk-taking, thrill-seeking, adrenaline junkie personality type. That's why I was attracted to the ups and downs of the stock market, and it was also what attracted me to things that lead to trouble. He said, the key to deal with this is to view it as just energy. I was choosing to take my energy and put it into all these negative addictions. Racing around at 120 miles an hour in my sports car, high on crystal meth, hanging out with all these gangsters in the drug community, all this stuff that could have got me killed. I still hear the wolves howling for me to come out and party. You know, back then, all week long I could hear the wolves, and I couldn't stay in by the weekend. I just had to go out and party. Even now, when I hear an old school rave tune, it sends that jolt of excitement right up my spine, you know, and you get all that goose flesh feeling. It just takes you right back down. But I remember what Dr. O said. It's all energy. I'll take that energy now, go to the fitness center, do karate, come out on natural high, or jump around with 60 sweaty women at one of these body combat classes to thumping dance music. It's like a rave in there about the drugs, and you come out on natural high. Now, you all look like model students. So did I back then. If any of you have got this thrill-seeking, risk-taking side to you, you just got to ask yourselves, you know, out of all your interests, what are the positive ones you could go and channel that energy into that won't get you in trouble? Extreme example. Say you're the kind of person like walking up to strangers, smacking them in the face and getting into fights. How could you possibly turn that around? Take that energy, put it into martial arts, boxing, at the end of the day get awarded prizes for it instead of getting a criminal record that's going to go on to damage your future career prospects. Now, before we go to questions, I'm just going to read some advice given to me by the mighty T-Bone. Let's get him back up here. The prisoners, when they're getting released, their mates give them advice about staying off the drugs. And the guy who's getting released, what he'll say is, I'm going to stay off the drugs, I'm going to send you some money to spend on commissary, I'm going to send you some books to read. And you never hear from them again until 6 months later when they're rearrested for drugs. Unfortunately, the cycle of addiction is too hard for most of them to break when they're that deep into it. And the American prisons give them no education or rehabilitation because they want them to come right back. It's $50,000 a year of taxpayers' money per prisoner. It's just a business model. So as you can imagine, your mates try and shake some sense into you when you're at the gate. And here's what T-Bone said to me. Check this out, Sean. When I was running around in my coke days, I ran into all kinds of people who did all kinds of things. And some of the drug money they made went places to hurt people. Do you hear me, brother? No matter how cool it may seem, drugs will lead to the police, prison, or death. That's real, man. You need to keep yourself away from anyone associated with it because it's wrong and dangerous. Once you allow yourself to become addicted to pot, coke, heroin, or any pill, it may start out as fun, but it will eventually ruin your life. That is my story. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you. Has anyone got anything? We've got a couple of minutes left. Okay, right here.
Did you see a future for yourself when you were in the...
No, actually, did I see a future for myself, he asked. When they told me I was facing up to 200 years, I didn't see any future for myself at all. And I know it sounds self-pitying, and my thing is I take full responsibility for putting myself in here. But at that point, I did just want to slash my wrists and end my life. The thing that would give me the strength not to do it was, I look at the photos of my mum and dad and sister and girlfriend, and I'd think, my mum's going to get a call from saying her son's slashed his wrist in an Arizona jail cell, and that would give me the strength not to do it. I couldn't bear the thought of putting my family through that. Now, over time, as my writing progressed and developed, I'm on a mission to expose what's been going on in this jail, and that's now developed into me becoming a published author. So that's my profession now. I never set out to be a writer. I only started writing because that guard said to me, the world's got no idea what's going on in the jail. My sister's got a degree in classical literature, speaks 5 languages, always wants to be an author. I never even read a single book of fiction before I got arrested. All I read was finance books. The last book I'd read before my arrest was in this school, and it was To Kill a Mockingbird, which was required reading in the English classes. Yeah. Now, my mission was to get that jail exposed to the world. And just last Wednesday, my story was broadcast on national TV in America to almost 10 million viewers as an episode of Locked Up Abroad, Raven, Arizona. I woke up the next day with 500 emails. Yeah, people just outraged at the conditions, outraged at the sheriff. Prisons shouldn't be easy, but guards murdering mentally ill inmates routinely, dead rats in the food, cockroaches all over, all that is illegal. The sheriff's purporting to uphold the law while those conditions are in violation of all these human rights. The episode now is going to be broadcast to 36 countries worldwide to over 50 million viewers. So people are going to finally know what's going on in this jail, and I'm hoping that that's going to put pressure on Arizona to get those conditions improved. I've even had emails from people who supported the sheriff, and they've said after watching the episode they're no longer supporting him. Since then, it's gone to over 1,000 emails and messages since Wednesday, and I've only had 4 death threats and hate emails, which I think is pretty good from followers of the sheriff. Only had 4, which is pretty good. So yeah, so in answer to your question, I didn't, I was on the abyss of madness in there. Didn't really see what my future held, But it has sent my life in this whole new positive direction I didn't expect. I had no idea I would come in and end up talking to schools and stuff like that. I got released to London and I did a BBC interview. Harley Street drug counsellor Tony McClellan heard it and he contacted the BBC and he said, I'd like Sean to go into schools and tell his story. I said, oh, well, I've got to readjust to society first. You know, it sounds like a good opportunity, but I've got to readjust. It took me a year to get the nerve up. It was Bishop Stortford College, year 11, I think. So scared I couldn't even eat my breakfast. I went into that hall and I couldn't even look at the audience. I was more scared of this year 11 than I was these murderers and gangsters I've been living with. For the entire hour, I paced from side to side for the entire hour. I think Pauline remembers my pacing days from back here at this school as well, because it was one of the first schools I spoke at. And I got out of that talk and I called my mum and I said, they must have thought I was a lunatic. I'm not cut out for public speaking at all. And I'm getting depressed then. I've got a criminal record, can't get a job. And a couple of weeks later, I got an email from the school and they said, we get a professional public speaker in every week. Our kids voted you the best talk of the year and we would very much like for you to come back. And that got my confidence up. And since then, I've been doing over 100 talks a year to schools. I've damaged my larynx from doing so many talks. I've been in and out of hospital with it. I've had to slow it down a bit. This episode today is getting filmed and it's going to go on YouTube and any school in the world is going to be able to watch it and benefit from it for free. But what keeps me going is all the responses from you guys. I get all these comments and tweets and emails and I get to see it through you guys' eyes. You know, stuff like we don't listen to our teachers, we don't listen to our parents, but because your story's true, you know, you've shown us what this can lead to. So it's making people, you know, really think long and hard about what the horrors of what drugs can lead to. So it keeps me motivated. And it's making me proud as well in my mum's eyes as well, because she sees a lot of these messages as well, restoring me. And I feel this is a better way for me to be repaying my debt to society than the actual prison sentence. So. Did you want to say anything, Mum? Did you have anything to add?
I didn't introduce the start. This is Sean's mum, who you know, Sean's girlfriend, and his girlfriend's mum, who's come along as well. You know, they back and tell the story told like this before. Yeah.
Sean's talk is. Shall I come over here?
Yeah.
Sean's talk is very important because he was one of you. He was a student just like you and he had a wonderful future ahead of him. He had all these ambitions and drugs, basically getting involved in drugs, just devastated his life and it devastated our lives. As Sean said, I had a nervous breakdown and I've been on and off medication because it was very difficult to deal with having a child in prison. We were typing up the blogs and I was reading all the horrific things that were happening to him and it was just a terrible time. But although I was very sad and ashamed and upset of what Sean did, because he did wrong, there's no way, you know, he did wrong. As he says himself, he takes responsibility for it. If you get involved in drugs, you have to be prepared for the consequences. No, it's your choice. You have these choices in life. But since he's come out of prison, I am so proud of how he has rehabilitated himself, how he's become a published author with nearly 3 books under his belt. But most important is the fact that he talks to children in schools, to teenagers in schools. And if he can save one of you from going down that path, well, all our suffering's been worth it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, thanks, Ken. Thank you.